All right, Corey, the other day you asked me, how do aliens reproduce with each other or with humans to make human alien hybrids? What do you think?
So, yeah, that whole thing, I think it seems pretty crazy, like the whole human hybrid one, because it's like, to me, it's just like animals and humans obviously are not having sex and making animal human hybrids. So, I want, I want that analogy for aliens and humans, and that shit ain't working. Um, but I want you to think about it in multiple different ways. Like, do aliens have different genders? Because that's when we think of gray aliens, they all look the same, like genderless beings. So it's like, how would they reproduce? Like, is there like a female or a male version? Because, like, where's their reproductive parts? Do they have asexual reproduction if they don't have those reproductive parts too? So for me, like when I think about that, I don't think that they are having sex. I think obviously when I think of gray aliens, they're probably cloning each other. Like that has to be a thing. If they're looking like one being, there's no differences between them. It must be through cloning. So I
Hmm.
think that's a big part to think about. But also, if aliens were to have sex, let's think of like Nordic aliens who people are saying they resemble a lot like humans. Let's say there are like differences, male and female. Like, would they be having sex for fun? Is there like some sexual pleasure? Or are they only doing it for reproduction? We would we would think obviously that aliens are doing it just for reproductive purposes, but like, what if they're kind of like us? Like, what if they're kinky? What if they like, exploring their sexual side, doing a little experimentation? Like, I feel like that is very possible also.
Hmm.
I guess another thing is also like their societal structure. Like, are we able to compare human society to alien society? Because if we are, then I think sex would be a big part for them, as in their like civilization. And also even the aging process. Like, do we have like baby aliens who develop into teenage aliens and then eventually like older aliens? Or are they just in some kind of like they've already when they're born, they've hit puberty, menopause, all that stuff. Like they are just in their state that they will be forever. Like I think all of that stuff has to be considered if we're talking about alien sex. And because I don't have the answers to that, I just want to I leaning more towards they're cloning. They're just cloning each other. So that's
Okay.
my stance on alien sex.
I feel like you asked a lot of good questions that I didn't even consider. You actually brought up something interesting. So, do you feel like sex for pleasure is a more intelligent type of thing or like a less intelligent type of thing? So, like, if they're more intelligent than us, maybe that's all that they do.
That is a really good question because when I think of animals, I mean, obviously, there are some who are having sex for pleasure. Like people have said
Yeah.
dolphins have sex for pleasure.
Dolphins. I know, I
But
think monkeys
also,
too.
yeah, but then also, like, there are animals who are just reproducing as like survival and natural selection. And so
Yeah.
it's like, I guess we would have to associate sex as a survival method for more primitive, and because we're more intelligent, we're now doing it for pleasure. But
Hmm.
so if you think about aliens, they must be on some other level if they're way more intelligent than us. Maybe sex is like there's like a whole other dimension to sex.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was thinking when you asked me this question, I was just like, well, when I see aliens, they don't have any private parts, like no genitalia at all. I think that if they are doing something with humans to create human hybrids, I'm thinking that it's more like a test tube type thing. Like maybe they're changing genes, but I don't think they're necessarily putting in alien genes. I think they're just kind of doing like eugenic type stuff to make humans different, but not necessarily like aliens.
So you think it's more like of an experiment that they're doing?
Yeah, for sure. I think it would be more experimental. And like you said, I don't think they would be mating with us directly because it would be like us mating with like monkeys. Like you just wouldn't do it. It's nasty. Like you're not gonna mate with something more primitive.
That's so true.
So it's just like I think yeah, if they're doing it, it's experimental and it would be like more genetic modification type thing.
Mm, Well, I mean, hopefully one day we will have contact with aliens and we can ask them these questions. Maybe our podcast will be surviving long enough so that we can get a guest star and they can tell us all about their sex life.
What? The guest star is gonna be the alien or
Yes, yes, I'm saying in the future when we have contacts with aliens, we can get one on here and they can, give us all the dirty deets.
all right.
Okay, well, that was a good opening to our second episode. Welcome back, everybody. We are UFO, and this is our second episode. It's been a while. There's been a lot of crazy stuff happening in the world. We have COVID going on, California fires, literally air pollution occurring everywhere. And we've also been really busy. I know Kelsey has a really hectic work schedule. I'm just working my normal 40 hours, but that's still a lot, you guys.
It's a
So
lot.
we are
It's a
trying.
lot in COVID time.
Oh yeah, definitely. We are trying to come out with episodes more regularly, but also we want to shift the content right now to something a little bit different. So we started out with like a case study, basically Roswell, but we've also been getting a lot of feedback saying that people are unaware that there are different alien species, and so we want to dedicate this episode to going into those different types of species.
Yes.
Also, we want to shout out to there's one listener somewhere in Ireland, and we want you. We're hoping you're still here for the second episode. We want you to email us later. We'll provide the links at the end of the episode, and we love your support.
Yes. We want love all international listeners. Right now we got that Ireland person. Definitely email us and tell us an alien story if you've got one. We want to hear it. I guess Corey, are we starting with the alien encounter story or
Oh
go
yes,
into go
okay.
into the content?
I am starting with an encounter story. So we're trying to do this regular segment where we're gonna go through an alien encounter story and give our reactions to this crazy story. Obviously, this isn't like a famous person. This is like real life people with their real life experiences. I have digged deep into the dark web and has found some great content for you guys. We're gonna anonymize this and we're going to say this is by Mona. Obviously, this person is not Mona, but we want to keep their identity a secret. So I'm going to go start with it. So this is the beginning. I've been contacted by aliens practically all my life, but it's been a while since my last visit. I went from getting visits every night to not having any at all months on end. I miss it a lot. I miss them. I don't think anybody, well, some of you, understand how much I love seeing them. When I'm with my star friends, it just makes me feel like everything will be okay. It makes me feel like home, if you know what I mean. I spent all my life trying to figure out who I am and what I'm supposed to be doing. I spent most of my childhood crying for someone to bring me home. I see Kelsey already has some reactions to what's happening, which
Okay,
I
I'm
can
sorry. Go
share.
ahead. I'm just laughing. Sorry.
Well, for me already, like I didn't I've obviously whenever I think of an alien encounter or an alien abduction, I've always associated with something like crazy evil, like people would not want to remember this. So I was surprised to see somebody who actually like has a really positive association with aliens, like somebody who actually misses being abducted. Like I don't ever like hear that.
Yeah, so they were missing abduction and they see the aliens as home. Like that's where they want to be, right?
Exactly. And
Yeah,
then so
okay,
I'm
that's
going to
crazy.
continue. I know I don't belong here. I've never had a bad experience with them, only good. The first time I realized that I was actually being visited by ETs, it all started making sense to me. I suddenly remembered why I was here and who I was. I felt like I was on fire. Nothing could stop me from doing what I had to do. It all started with seeing a UFO. My first time was when I was around 15 or 16. It was a long cigar shaped UFO that beamed white light. I felt such a deep warmth in my heart. I started having visitations every night after that. I've had some previously before that too, but it never clicked until then. But like I said, the visitations have stopped. The only dreams about them I have is when I'm following a being through this chaotic war that's happening. I don't understand it. How can I go from being with them every night to not having but one visitation from them every few months? I'm going to be honest with y'all. It really sucks, especially because I love them so much. There has been one time about 6 or 7 months ago, I was having a visitation and I was awake. I got freaked out and I started off saying how much I hated them and how they had no right to take me whenever they wanted. But it wasn't true. I was just scared. A few weeks after that, the visitation stopped. I might have written this somewhere, but a few weeks after that visitation, I was writing in my journal and I wrote about how much I missed them and how sorry I was and that how I wished they'd come back. That night, my 9-year-old brother had a dream about us getting abducted together. By the way, he knew nothing of what I wrote in my journal or of the abductions. But anyways, in my dream, he said that I was laying on a table and there was a huge white light over me, and he was watching all these little aliens do things to me while he sat in a room with another being that was asking him questions. He had said that the alien wasn't talking to him. He said he could hear the alien in his head. But anyways, after my examination, or whatever it was, the alien led Chase, which is my brother, out into this hall where I was standing with a group of them. He said there was a reunion party that was going on for me and the Star people, but Chase didn't want to go to it. So I went into the reunion room and the being he was with took him to a what he calls a staircase that went straight down but had no stairs. He said he jumped down the staircase and ended up in my bedroom and laid down on the floor and went back to sleep. Oh, but I forgot this part. Before he left, that being that he brought him to the stairs told him that it was me that made myself forget about them and that I had a button I needed to push to go back to them. This is the part I've been confused about. I don't actually think there's a button like sitting somewhere I have to push. I think it's a mental or spiritual thing. Like I have to get past this block to remember again. I don't understand it. I've often thought it was fear that held me back from them, but I don't know anymore. I've pushed myself in so many ways trying to get rid of fear. Sometimes I feel like I'm going crazy. I want them back in my life, and it's been too long for me. I don't know. I just tell me what you think the button is and how I can push it because I've pushed so many buttons already and I can't seem to find the right one. And so that's her. That's Mona's alien encounter story, or more like her experience too. And so, how do you feel about that, Kelsey?
I feel like it's pretty creepy when her brother started seeing too. But I feel like because it's like it validates what you were doing. Like you're not just crazy when somebody else is involved. It's just like my brother didn't know about it and he saw the same stuff or like he knew about what was happening even though he didn't know my journal, that kind of thing. And then
Yeah.
I think it sounds to me her like the button type thing sounds like in Peter Pan, like that kind of stuff where you just get older and then because you're older, you're just not capable of like perceiving things, like, or you're not capable of believing things and then you see them. Like you have to see it first to believe it, but when you're little, you believe it even though you haven't seen it, like type of thing. So I think her mental block is just that she got older and she can't access that same kind of thing. Maybe it is fear, but yeah, I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah. I, for me, when I read the story, I was just like, first, I was thrown off because she really loves these aliens. And like I said before, we usually don't associate alien abductions with like anything positive or like these people are my family or my home or like I don't belong on Earth. But she really has like a strong connection to these aliens. And so she obviously is desperately trying whatever she can to get them again. And also she's saying that like, that one time she was awake and she like screamed, "I hate you guys. Like you guys can just take me whenever I want." Like I was just like, damn, like how did she get enough courage to say that? Because if some aliens abducted me, I'm not gonna tell them like you can't do whatever you want to me. But also I feel like, that could be a trigger, I guess, for some aliens. Like maybe they chose her because she has such a strong association with them. But then, once she's just like back off, like they're just like she's not the one, so we're not gonna
Mm,
like, take her anymore. And so I think she just lost it. Like there's no button anymore. Like she was the chosen one and she ain't the chosen one anymore. So I'm sorry, Mona. I hope to see more
dang.
stories from you, but I'm gonna say sadly you're probably not gonna have any more stories from me.
She she aged out. They were like, "You're too big now. You did not complete your mission when you were supposed to, and so you are not the chosen one anymore." It's pretty
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah. I don't know how I would feel if I had a strong connection to aliens, but that's why we're here
And I
to
feel
find
like,
these stories.
yeah, and I feel like she definitely did have a strong relationship with them, like that she felt was positive if she felt like comfortable enough to really say like I hate you and not be fearful of the repercussions.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty scary to know that they were visiting you and shit. And that they have total control of every interaction. Like even she said, like they can come whenever and she can't choose when to see them. So
How do we feel about her description of like what was she said long cigar shaped UFO with a white beam of light, and that I guess I want to say the portal for them to go back to Earth was like a staircase that had no stairs. Like they just jumped through it. Do you feel like it's kind of like what you've been hearing, or this is like new stuff?
I would say it's definitely different. I think like she doesn't say exactly how old she was, right? When she remembers this stuff. I think the
She did
other
say she
problem is like,
started getting abductions when she was like 15 or 16, but I don't know how old she is currently.
oh, okay. Well, I was gonna say 15 and 16 is kind of old. I was gonna, because my point was gonna be like if they mostly do interact with children, like children are limited in how to describe things. So it's like a staircase, but maybe it's something else. They just don't have the word for it, you know?
Oh,
But
very
15
true.
or 16 is like kind of old. I don't know. I would say, oh, the white light or lights are familiar.
Oh, actually,
Other than
so the
that, like,
staircase description was actually from her little brother, her 8-year-old little brother. Like
oh,
she was saying that
okay.
he recounted that to her. So
Yeah.
that is, I think, synonymous to what you were saying earlier about like kids not knowing.
Yeah, that you're limited in like your
Mhm.
vocabulary. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'd say the lights are definitely familiar. A cigar-shaped UFO, I could see that, especially from a distance. Like that's how it's gonna look. I don't know about up close and stuff, but it sounds close enough and yet different. I don't know.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
interesting stuff. So, I mean, I'm assuming the people that abducted her or the species that abducted her were the Greys, and that's going to be the first species we're going into. So, Kelsey, would you like to start?
Yes, I will start off. Okay, so the grays are also sometimes known as the Zeta reticulans. Just another name if you're ever on some alien forum and people are talking about Zeta reticulans, it is the grays. They're one of the most widely known alien species. Most people are familiar with this brand of alien. It is like the pop culture alien. It's the one that you see in movies. And it's the one that is involved in most alien abductions. But let's start off. What do they look like? So they're described as gray-skinned humanoids, usually 3 to 4 feet tall. They have large heads, black almond-shaped eyes, nostril slits, but like no like 3D nose they don't have. It's just like holes in their face. No ears, and 3 to 4 fingers, including a thumb. Corey?
Okay, so when you said 3 to 4 feet, they're also tall grays, right?
Yes, I was gonna mention that. So there
Ooh.
are other grays. The people think they might be another species because those are taller, much taller, like 6 to 7 feet tall typically. And I mentioned in the Roswell incident, episode 1 of our podcast, that in my family, at least, they say that the short grays are mean and the tall grays are nice and good. I guess we'll learn through more alien stories. Maybe we'll have some to prove to you, but that's the theory in my family, at least. And I would say in most stories, they're described as clothingless. And as Corey and I mentioned earlier, they don't usually, or they are never described with reproductive organs. So we don't know if there's male and female. They might all just be one type and they clone. Who knows?
Yeah, that's what I think the general consensus was that they repopulate through cloning technology.
Yeah. Okay, so since the 1960s, Greys have dominated the abduction and contact stories. They make up about 90 or 73% of alleged contact. So they've been visiting and messing with people on Earth for a while. They're believed to originate from the Zeta Reticuli, a binary star system in the constellation of Reticulum. What does this mean? I don't know, but I read it.
We do our research, but we don't do that much for you guys.
I was just like, all right, it sounds so hardcore, like somebody knows really where they came from, but I don't.
I do want to add that that star system is about 40 light years away from Earth. So just to say, like, oh, it is like pretty far from us. Like, we're not going to get
Okay.
there easily.
Yeah, okay. See, Corey's doing better research. But I also read that there are alternate species that may come from the Orion system. I'm not sure how many light years away that is, but typically they are described as traveling in the iconic flying saucer aircrafts, either triangle or sphere shaped. If there's an aircraft like that, it's probably grays involved. They're one of the most scientifically focused alien species. It's widely believed that the Greys are conducting long-term genetic experiments using humans. They're the main abductors, and they're said to have some type of memory wiping technology. They allegedly repopulate through cloning and human experimentation, possibly making the alien-human hybrids. And small Greys are said to have a hive mind and have swarm intelligence. They're telepathic and potentially they have mind control abilities. I read that their dark eyes and terrifying appearance stuns, and they're able to implant memories, which serves to immobilize their abductee victims. So just
Ooh.
seeing them is terrifying, and you can't escape.
Is that an ability, or is that just that we just find them nasty? Like,
It, I think it might be both, like deer in the headlights symptom, but then they're also saying that it implants like thoughts. So it's just like they tell you you can't move, and then like since they're in your mind through telepathy, you can't.
hell no.
Yeah. So those are like the negative experiences. Some people do report positive experiences with grays, and I would say those are probably the tall grays that they're talking about. Because from what I read, most of the small grays are the ones doing abducting experiments. So, the grays are involved in most abduction stories, and sometimes these even include multi-alien species abductions. So sometimes the grays are equals in the leadership roles in an abduction, and other times they're a slave, like slave class, and they do work for other species like reptilians or Nords. We'll probably find out more about that later, but yeah, they're involved and they're cutting people, and sometimes they're in charge and sometimes they're not. I read that
Yeah.
in history. In history, they're kind of believed to be the fairies or dwarves in a lot of stories because of their shorter size. What's going on with you, Corey?
I'm
What are you?
sorry. I'm just imagining like a little fairy alien. Two worlds that should not collide.
Yeah, and it's another thing where like you don't have just a way to describe it, so you describe it in another way or like the way that
Mm,
you can, and it comes out sounding like a fairy tale, but it might not be, and something real happened.
mm,
The first modern written descriptions of gray aliens are by H.G. Wells. In an 1893 article, Man of the Year Million. He's also the author of the books War of the Worlds and First Men in the Moon. So I'm thinking H.G. Wells had contact with some aliens because suddenly he had a lot of alien content, and I'm wondering where that came to his mind. But
definitely.
grays became fully popularized in the 1980s when they were linked to the Roswell incident.
Mm.
All right, Corey, anything to add?
Yeah, so the only reason why we're linking them to the Zeti Reticuli star system is because of a famous abduction or encounter story, which involves Betty and Barney Hill. So, I mean, we will probably in a future episode go more in depth, but basically, they're just two normal civilians who were driving down like a highway and they suddenly got abducted. And they have no knowledge whatsoever of astronomy, and they were told to draw out like what what kind of information these aliens were giving them. And so the description was very similar to the gray alien descriptions of like who they got abducted by. And the star system that Betty drew out was it matched the Zeti Reticuli star system. And she is just like a normal person, just like everyday person. Like if you were to tell me to draw any star system, I cannot. So for her to be able to draw something that fit like something real, that's why we're associating that with the Zeti Reticuli.
Yeah, that's wild. And that is something that like when you hear, you believe, you're like, oh yeah, that abduction story is real because you don't just gain knowledge like that. I feel like you would have to study so much because I can't even tell you the order of the planets. And does Pluto count? I don't know. So
So true. Totally agree. And we graduated with our degrees, so that says something. All right, so the next one I want to go talk about are the Nordic aliens, which I know in the previous episode I've talked about them being also dubbed the Tall Whites. They also are also called the Palladians, and so at first I did say they are my most hated ones, like the ones I'm more fearful of because they look so scary. Like if you were to see a really tall Scandinavian alien that looks human but isn't human, like to me when I heard that I was just like, no, like you are too alien or like not alien enough. You're scaring me. But let's start with their physical characteristics. Very human-like. They mostly resemble Scandinavian descent. They have blonde to reddish hair with blue or green eyes. Most people say they're piercing, so they're they're very blue or green. They stand to be about 5 to 7 feet tall, which is why they're dubbed the tall whites. And they're generally taller than most humans and with very, very pale skin. So already that is the description I've already like came in knowing, and that is what scared me. But through further research, my opinions have changed. So the Palladians, or as we call them, the Nordic aliens, are motivated to connect to humanity out of concern for Earth's future. So a lot of Native American legends have described indigenous people as starseeds with a mission of bringing light and knowledge, often and they're often seen as peaceful messengers. So these Nordic aliens are here to actually help Earth. And, they haven't really been linked to any abduction stories that have scary experimentations where they wipe out your memories and implant things in you. And I think interesting thing to note is that because they're linked to these Native American stories and legends, if we think about it, Native Americans are also very linked to nature. Like they really are here to care and like make everything prosperous. And like even if they have to like kill an animal, they will use every piece of that animal. Like they're not here to be wasteful. And I think if we're associating like them as star seeds of like the Nordic aliens, that makes me think that they are here to actually help Earth prosper and stay alive and not go down the path of what we're going down now, where we're like, consuming everything, killing our own planet, polluting. And so that is pretty much how my opinions have changed. Their possible origins are star cluster Pleiades, and that's about 444 light years away from Earth, which is very, very far. That's like 10 times as far as that Zeti Reticuli star system. So their
Damn.
mode of transportation must be like very advanced to get to us. So they're concerned with a lot of like spiritual evolution of humanity, and they often remind us that we are closely related to them, even though we are much more primitive. So because they are very humanoid, we are somewhat, we have a relation to them, but also they are on another level compared to us. Many abduction and encounter stories involve them trying to assert ideals and thoughts of peace and positivity. They are also believed to have been involved with attempts to convince the US to discontinue our nuclear missile program. So, this is a very
Ooh.
controversial story about, I think it's President Eisenhower. It said that he had gone on an emergency like dental appointment, which is obviously fake. Who needs to announce that? But they were saying that he had met up with Nordic aliens and gray aliens, and the Nordic aliens are trying to push for us to discontinue these like destructive programs that are very harmful. Like obviously, if we're just going to shoot all our nuclear missiles right now, the Earth would be destroyed. And so they are pushing
Yes.
back on that and saying like, if you continue on this path, you're only just going to harm your own planet. But the thing is, obviously, our program still exists to this day, and many people have said that we didn't make any plans with the Nordic aliens and that we sided with the Greys, who are very, as Kelsey has said, scientific. Like they don't really care about us. They just care about science, DNA, extracting shit from us. And so that is kind of like the whole thing about Nordic aliens. It seems like they're very peaceful. They may look scary, but I guess because they're also very humanoid in characteristics, we could also be very not afraid of them because if it's like comparing if you saw a gray alien versus a Nordic alien who looks human, you probably would be less scared of the Nordic aliens because they looked more close to ourselves.
Yes, that, and if the Nordic alien is there preaching peace, then they're not going to be scary. Whereas if the little gray is like, look, Eisenhower, we're gonna abduct 1,000 people every year and you're just gonna accept it. Then he's gonna be like, okay, well, I'm sorry, Nordic alien, but are you gonna do anything about this guy? No? Okay, then I'm only gonna do what this little gray alien is telling me.
Like, do you think Nordic aliens have the power to become threatening, or like, will they get peace through destruction? Like, do you think that they would, wage war to ensure that there is peace and prosperity?
From what I read, like they are about peace and prosperity and like more spirituality type thing. And I think that they have the technology, but I think that it's not their way to like use violence. So they're not going to. They'd rather everyone come to that conclusion themselves. And like you, if whatever the consequences are our consequences, they can nudge us, but at the end of the day, they have another planet 400 something light years away, and like they're trying to help us, but we're just an experiment, and that's it.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, they have also been linked to working with the gray aliens, which is confusing to me because, like, I wonder if gray aliens, like, because they have like a hive personality, are there different objections for them? Like, are there some gray aliens who are like, oh, we're science focused, we just want to create hybrid humans, and then other ones who are like, although I'm very into science, I want to also use this for good in a way, which is why you see some of them siding with the Nords or working under the Nords.
I think yes, but I think that when they typically describe the Greys working with the Nords, I think they're talking about the tall Greys. I think that it's the good Greys, and it's the good Greys. Maybe they are science based, but I feel like they're a little bit more ethical. Like maybe they see people, yes, they're primitive, but it's just like they like we call it humanity. I don't know what they would call it. And then they would say like they have like even though they're pretty animalistic, like we can't be evil to them. It's like people, and then other people are like no, but they're not humans. Like we need to do these experiments. It's better on them than on us, like that type of thing.
Very true. I totally agree.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess we'll move on to the reptilians. Um, okay, so the reptilians, I had said that they were kind of the worst one for me. I think they still are. That opinion has not changed.
I feel bad for them, but they deserve that.
They are described as tall, scaly humanoids, and they're allegedly capable of shape-shifting into basically humans to blend in. And they're said to drink blood and operate out of underground bases throughout Earth. So they come from the Alpha Draconis star system. Again, I can't tell you left, right, up, or down, but uh, Corey, do you have any deets on that?
No, not with me.
Okay, I don't know how many light years away it is, but it sounds very far. And historically, there are reptilian humanoid figures dating as far back as ancient Egypt with the god Sobek, and he's a human with a crocodile head. So, in modern times, the reptilian existence has largely been advocated by this conspiracy theorist, David Icke. He published a book called The Biggest Secret in 1999. And in the book, he describes a conspiracy in which a reptilian species has been taking over the political leadership of humans across the globe. But reptilians did not originate with this guy. They were known and they have been involved in alien abductions before. One of the earliest reports occurred when a police officer in Nebraska, Herbert Schirmer, was put under hypnosis, and he described an event where he remembered being taken in a UFO in 1967 by reptilian humanoids. And he described a winged serpent emblem on their chest, and that would suggest, like some kind of class and like definitely a societal structure where you have to mark that you belong in a different group at least. So that's kind of scary. That would suggest there's a lot of reptilian aliens, and so in other abduction stories, they're always featured in leadership roles. Like they're never spotted doing anyone else's bidding, and they have been reported to have small grays who do kind of the dirty work, the slave work. And I would say every single thing that I read about reptilians, it sounds like whatever their intentions on Earth, it's nefarious. They're here, they're bad, they're evil, and they still, I think, would be smelly. Um,
I mean, obviously, if they're out for blood, like their breath better stink.
yeah, I mean, best case, they smell like iron, right? But I'm pretty sure
Best
they,
case, that's nasty.
yeah, best case, they smell like iron. So I don't know. They're okay, yeah. And like I said, in modern times, because of this guy, David Icke, people associate the reptilian alien with the conspiracy theory of that they're here, their goal is to gain political control on Earth and manipulate human society. So there is actually a measurable population of people who subscribe to Ike's conspiracy theories. He's lectured in 47 countries, and in 2013, they found that 4%, plus or minus 2.8%, believe that there is a reptilian species taking over the government. And I have definitely seen a lot of, I thought they were just memes, but people really believe it. Like, what's that guy's name? The Facebook guy that he's a
Mark Zuckerberg.
Mark Zuckerberg. They're like, he's not a real human. He's one of those reptilian people. I think I've seen a Hillary Clinton one. Like, there's a lot of people that they say are reptilians. Probably Queen Elizabeth, just because of how old she is. They're like, she ain't real. So,
Oh my god. I could not imagine her just like suddenly unzipping her skin and she like starts hissing at you.
yes. So, yeah, I would say that's what I read about reptilians.
I did actually go on to an Atlant like the Atlantic is a magazine article. I mean, like they write articles, and they did have one about reptilians and saying like who in like political power is a reptilian, and there's like certain stuff you have to look out for. And it
Mm.
just cracked me up. I feel like it's a satirical piece, but I also kind of took it a little bit serious because it was talking about stuff like, you gotta look at their eye color. Like if there's a certain eye color, they're reptilian, or like they have like it's like one of the tips that they're reptilian. But the
What were
thing
they
is,
saying? What's the eye color?
I think it was green
Oh,
or like
okay.
orange yellow. But the thing is, when I started reading more into it, like they had a whole checklist, and then they started like going through like people in political power and if they like fit any of the descriptions in the checklist. And when they talked about Obama, they were like check mark for the eye color, even though he doesn't have anything we said. They could change their eye color. I'm like, what the hell is this? It was a little funny piece, but they do believe Obama is reptilian.
Yeah. I mean, if you disagree with anybody, you're gonna say they're reptilian, it sounds like, if you're into this conspiracy.
Exactly. But I do agree, like the whole, I guess, image of reptilian humanoids is that they're evil, they're aggressive. They kind of come from like, I guess, the center of the earth. I mean, we haven't been that far, but they're saying because of their underground bases, they can go as far as the center of the earth. And yeah, they're just out here to wreak havoc and like, I guess, in a way, take control of our planet. Like that's their end goal, which
Yeah.
which I feel like it's easy for them, right? Like what like hearing how they are, like they
Hmm.
can just if they can transform into people and they're bloodthirsty, like what's stopping them from already just waging war on us? Unless
Yes.
we're here to do something for them.
So I agree. I think it would be something, a situation where it's just like I would rather rule because they think that they're the person that they love. I'd rather be loved than feared. So they're going to infiltrate our societies and make us do whatever they want, and we're not going to know that it's because they want us to do that. Like we think that we chose that, but we didn't.
Ooh, I
So
was
it's
about to,
also another way to experiment on us, though. Like we
yeah.
can make them do whatever we want if we just have to make them believe that it's their decision.
So true. Because I was about to say, like, how are we gonna love a reptilian alien? Because that shit's so nasty. I cannot imagine anybody I know who would do their bidding, unless it's under fear.
Yeah. Well, you know what? There would be some people who want it. Like somebody's gonna be like, "Make me a reptilian. I want to drink blood," like that kind of thing.
Oh, I don't want to meet those people. And if you are a listener who is like that, please don't follow us. I mean, follow us so we can get, more Spotify followers, but don't be listening to our episodes because we don't want you.
Oh man, I'm scared now.
Okay, never mind. Just scratch everything I said about that. Okay, so I'm gonna start talking about the insectoids. So I kind of wanted to, at first, I wanted to group them with reptilians because it's kind of like creatures slash aliens. But I mean, I feel like there's enough variability with insectoids that they deserve their own category. So, with their physical characteristics, they are obviously similar to, what we would call insects in our world. They have multiple limbs, insect like mandibles, and an exoskeleton. Sometimes they can have compound eyes and some antennae. They have, there are many regulations that have stated them being very tall, so like 6 to 7 feet, and with very long, thin torsos, which is very much like I want to say praying mantis. Like when you think of like a praying mantis, imagine that, but like human-sized version, or like not even human-sized, but 6 to 7 feet versions. There have been some accounts of them being unclothed or wearing long robes. So that was very interesting because I felt like, I mean, with the reptilians, we did talk about them having like the little crest on them, which is probably to show some type of like societal status.
Mhm.
But like, I think also the unclothed versus the wearing long robes could also be a status. Like maybe the unclothed versions are like the more aggressive, like they will abduct you, they will do the kidnappings and like maybe kill you. Whereas like the long, what I associate the long robes with are like mystical beings who are like overseeing everything.
Yeah, I agree with you. The naked ones sound like thugs that are gonna be kidnapping you and killing you, and then the robed are gonna be like their classier ones that are gonna cover up their body. They they can't get dirty. They don't want that human blood on them.
True, true. So I'm going to talk a little bit about their reputation. There have been some, but not as many encounters as the other popular species that we've talked about. There have been stories of people saying they've been abducted by the aliens that look somewhat like a humanoid praying mantis, which definitely fits the description that I just talked about. There is actually an African tribe that states that the mantis was the first living creature on Earth, making some people speculate that these could be linked to the insectoids. I think a big part of like culture are these like legends and mythologies saying that there are these creatures or like beings who came from long ago who are here to help, or either here to help or if they ruled our planet at some point. And so because this tribe is saying that there is, that they are one of the first living creatures on Earth, it could be linked to, I guess, alien life or alien intervention. Um, their origins, there's not really much theories on where they originate from, probably because they are not as popular as the other species we've talked about. They have usually been seen as an overseer of human abductions, often Kelsey.
I actually read that they come from the Draco system, kind of like the reptilians, like so that they are related, but they are distinctive, like they're
Hmm.
different.
That
But
makes sense. I mean, I was going to group them together anyway, so
yeah,
maybe they're cousins or something.
yeah.
So as I was saying earlier, that they are an overseer of human abductions, often being accompanied by many gray aliens. Some say it exerts a hive mind mentality, which is basically a collective consciousness that can be seen in the behaviors of our own insect colonies. So already we can see the hive mind, insects, interesting concept we are seeing. Although they look intimidating, a lot of people describe these beings as positive and uplifting, often educating them through the use of telepathy and holographs. Also related to protecting to humanity and the earth. So a lot of them, I guess you can say maybe their motives are somewhat similar to the Nords, but also there are definitely been scary experiences that involve human DNA harvesting and more intimidating insectoids that has chilling features and red eyes. So maybe this is like the naked versus the robed ones, like just like how we are seeing with the small grays and the tall grays. Since there are some scary experiences that have like DNA harvesting, I'm gonna assume that those are the naked, scary praying mantises. And people have said like they are more dark colored with red eyes, which seem really vicious to me.
Hmm.
Whereas the educated ones seem to be accompanied by small grays. Maybe they are doing some human abductions and experimentations, but maybe it's more for educational purposes and to see how they can help us or help further our society. So that's pretty much what I have on insectoids.
Yeah. I think either abducting you would be terrifying, and There's got to be something going on with the people who come out and are like, "Oh, it was good. Like all they did was serve tea," and like that's crazy to me. Like I would still be scared even if they did nothing to me and they just questioned me. If I remembered and I was abducted, then I would be terrified, like no matter what.
Mm. So you're saying that you would have a very different experience or like a different perspective from our friend Mona earlier?
Probably, like I can't say for certain, but Mona, I mean, because we did describe that some of them they think have telepathy and they can put thoughts in your mind. So maybe they put positive feelings there and that's what you remember. But I just feel like if I remember I was abducted, I would be scared because I feel like being powerless like that is very terrifying to me. But I don't know. Everyone's different.
That's true. Like, it's definitely a scary feeling knowing that, like, especially if it's like a praying mantis. Like, already, I don't really like insects that much. Like, I'm not like afraid of them, but like, they kind of look gross. And if
Hmm.
there's like a giant sized praying mantis trying to do shit to me, I feel like that thing is not my friend. Like, it can probably snap my neck or do a little click click noise and, eat me in 3 seconds. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Insect praying mantises eat insects, right? Like they're
Yeah,
kind of like carnivore
I think
insects.
they even eat their own kind. Like
Oh,
female
you know
and
what?
male, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, I think when the female mates with the male, she eats him after, I think.
Gross.
Snoo snoo.
We should not have talked about that. Now they're gonna be like, you're talking bad about our people. We coming for you, Kelsey.
You're like you're talking bad about our children, and they come for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. All right. I guess we'll move on to the blue avians. This is like a more low-key type of alien that I had never even heard of. It's something that I think Corey found first and put on the radar
Super random. I don't
because
even know. I was not looking for aliens. They just came to me. So maybe they were like, Corey, we know you're going to make a podcast in the future. We want you to be exposed to us and shout us out.
damn, that's kind of how they work, though, allegedly. Okay, so blue avians, what are they? They're spiritual beings that appear to humans in the material world as a humanoid bird creature. So they have a bird-like head shape, a beak, and blue feathers. They're said to travel across the universe in spheres, which I interpreted as light. It was like really vague what I was reading. But
Mm.
it's either way, it's not spacecraft as we know it. So they travel, and they travel far. I don't remember what it described exactly, but it was just like that they operate in another density and that it sounded like wormholes. They had wormhole technology from what I was reading. I don't know. They are intelligent and peaceful, and they want to help the spiritual development of humans and spread hope and peace for the preservation of our planet. They want to kind of develop a common good consciousness for everybody. So they want us to kumbaya and love each other and treat the earth right. This blue avian species, I only read good things about them. Like they were positive. If you're going to come in contact with one, it will be a positive experience based off of what everyone's saying. They're said to be telepathic, but they're known to communicate in dreams. They also allegedly are capable of using some type of sign language, and there's reports that they use a light physical touch to calm contactees, and it creates a positive physical and emotional response in whoever they're contacting. So they're not an abducting species. They only initiate contact with humans who are open and willing to communicate. They're on Earth to negate negative human and ET interactions. So whatever's going on, bad human stuff, they're here to try to stop that. And it sounded like they're here to kind of counteract reptilian and gray abductions. Like they want to make that they just want to stop it. They want everyone to be in peace and love and to be good to each other. No abductions. But they prefer to nudge people and things in the right direction rather than directly interfering. So If you want them to reach you, they will. They won't come and tell you what to do. You have to be willing to hear their message. They say it's a positive experience. I think they would not come to me because I wouldn't want to see them.
Just like, please don't let me see your face.
I'm just like any alien species who's listening to this podcast, Korey has the open invitation. Go and see him, but stay away from me.
That is so true. I have definitely told Kelsey that like we need to go on a road trip and I need to get abducted. Like I need an alien experience in my lifetime, which she thinks is crazy, but and I guess I didn't really think about it that much. I was just like, I just want something crazy to happen, but I also don't want it to be by some of the nasty. Like I don't want a reptilian up in my face. Like I want at least a blue avian to, maybe go in my dreams and tell me some ways to help, our planet because there's some crazy shit happening right now.
Yeah, that's true. And I feel like if they come in the dream, then that is less scary than in real life. Because in real life, you see a blue bird human, like, even if they touch you and you're like, oh, it's all good, like, I don't know. For me later, I'm be like, what kind of drug did somebody give me? Because I don't remember. That's not normal.
So true. So I did want to touch a little bit about like references in mythology. So there have been links to like the Egyptian gods Ra and Sumerian gods Abgal. And so they have like the bird head and like human body. So if you want to kind of like look more into that, there are like references in like past legends that of these like so-called blue avians. And yeah, I do. A lot of stuff I read was very like they do non-physical methods of contact, and
Hmm.
they're only here to spread good messages and intervene, like us going towards like a destructive path. So I feel like they are very like on the same plane as Nords, but I think Nords because they have been seen in abductions and we have seen more encounters with them. That's the difference between Nords and Blue Avians is that one's more physical and the other one's more through like non-physical methods.
Yes, yeah, definitely. But if you're gonna come in contact, you would want to come in contact with a Nord or a Blue Avian for sure.
Yes,
Those are
totally agree.
the more peaceful and loving alien species for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the last species we're going to go through are the Anunnakis. So this is more when I know the History Channel already has like their whole series, Ancient Aliens, and these are going to be considered what Ancient Aliens are, but they're not as fake as the History Channel. Because the History Channel has definitely put out some documentaries that have been like pseudoscience, like mermaids. I remember back in middle school or high school, they came out with that documentary about mermaids, and I was like, damn, this should look real. But then when I looked more into it, it was just all fake shit. Like none of that stuff
Yeah.
was real.
I think that was like, well, that was purposely a satirical piece, but it fooled a lot of people. Like, a lot of people even still will swear that that shit was real. And it's just like, people would be talking about it way more if that really was out there. Like, if mermaids were real, we'd know.
So true, so true. Mermaids are aliens.
They could be.
Okay, so there aren't a lot of confirmed physical characteristics just because these ancient aliens are very closely associated with our own human race. Like people think that they are Egyptian gods. So if I guess we were to put any physical characteristics, it would just be the physical characteristics of these Egyptian gods, like Egyptian characteristics, I guess. But there are some where they said they have hybrid reptilian humanoids. So we have seen a lot of different gods, Egyptian gods. Like we have seen like ones with bird heads, we have seen the crocodile heads. So maybe they are just kind of everything. Like if these alien experimentations have gone successful, like maybe we have hybrids of everything at this point.
Yes.
Their reputation, there's a lot of like Sumerian deities that have been said that they are the children from the sky and the earth, which is very like, I want to say, the sky could represent space, and earth obviously is physically where we are at right now. And so they're saying that these alien interventions are the beginning of our, yes, Kelsey?
I was just gonna say that description, children of the sky and earth, definitely sounds like they're talking about a hybrid. They're talking about hybrid children right there. They're
Oof.
talking about the aliens mating with the humans. So,
Yes, good interjection because I was just thinking more of like a descendant from the sky to
yeah,
like, people from our own planet. And so there's lots of Mesopotamian literature that isn't really conclusive on their origins or what their exact roles were because, like, a lot of the scriptures have said many different things. Like, they have said that the Anunnakis were actually like seven councilmen gods who had a lot of power, but their roles weren't very defined. Like, people didn't know why they existed or like why they were respected so much.
yeah.
So, ancient aliens have been believed to provide the human species with technological and cultural advancements, and they're also believed to be trying to enslave our race, and that we are cloned as a slave race to mine certain resources. So there's been another theory that's said that, the only reason why they've intervened with our planet is that to enslave us and that we are here to basically mine all of our resources on this planet for their own use. I don't know what type of materials. I mean, a lot of people have said gold is the only reason why we have given gold such a valuable position in our planet is because of this race. Why do we value gold so much, right?
That's true. It's like a pretty much a useless metal. It's why would we start to like idolize it or use it like over iron or something, something much more practical.
Exactly. Like we put such a high value to this material, yet it's like, what is its use? So a lot of people are saying it's because the Anunnakis, like maybe they're using it on their own planet for a certain thing. A lot of the possible origins have said that, like, there isn't really an origin of them. It's just that they've appeared somewhere on Earth about 300,000 to 400,000 years ago. So they are very ancient. So the Sumerians had advanced mathematics, writing, and militaries, which are believed to be linked to the Anunnakis. The reason why they had such high levels of education and military forces, people are saying that, they are here to intervene and to kind of show us how to be better, but only for their own use. Like, because we are an enslaved race, they will give us enough, but not enough to be at their level. A lot of people have also believed that there are many Anunnaki imposters in our modern society who are here to manipulate humanity politically and financially from seats of higher power. And they're saying that the majority of the global elite control our planet today, which is kind of scary to think about. We obviously have a lot of different groups who are in power. Like, let's say the royal family in England. Like, what if Kelsey has definitely already said Queen Elizabeth might be reptilian, but what if she's actually an Anunnaki descendant? And so the reason why they're in power is because they are here to oversee that the way we run our planet is run in a certain way that benefits them. And so, although they have, I guess, instilled our society with a lot of like cool advancements and things that have been very useful for us today, it's very frightening to think that, they have the puppet strings, like they are just kind of like having us do their own bidding.
It's just weird to think that there are like human families that after a certain point, like how were they able to keep power? Like before, okay, you came into power and you took over the castle because you killed people. But then like at what point did society like progress and yet they're still like, oh, you're still gonna have this title. Like, I don't know, that's trippy to me now, right now that I'm thinking about it. Like, I know that the royal family right now doesn't have real like governmental power. They're kind of just there,
Mhm.
but they still make a lot of money and like they don't do anything. So it's just like, why? Why is that okay? Like, why didn't they just become normal people? Like,
Yeah.
if they weren't getting paid for just existing, then like they would have definitely had to have sold their castles and they would be normal people by now. Like,
Yeah, I think a big thing about that whole royal family is like because like power is basically given to their children. It's like in their family. Like that's what I'm thinking about this whole Anunnaki descendant. Like, how would you ensure that the Anunnaki stay powerful without literally coming out and just like becoming dictators of our planet, right? Like
mhm.
giving power through your kids, like I feel like that's very suspicious.
Yeah. And it's
But
just like and the families that still exist, like their power does go back for a while, and
yeah,
it
and
just
I
seems
think
like an
something to think
easy
about is
way.
also like, celebrity families or like rich ass people. Like
Yeah, like
their
the
wealth,
dynasties.
yeah, like their
Yeah.
wealth is just being given to their kids and like because they're so wealthy, they have power in our society because we value wealth so much. And so that's just kind of crazy to think about. Like Anunnakis, gold, wealth, power. That's some crazy shit to think about. Like
That is
aliens
crazy.
are here intervening, but not in what you would think aliens do. Like they're political masterminds.
Now I'm thinking Anderson Cooper of CNN, definitely Anunnaki. He's a Vanderbilt. There's definitely something going on with him.
I wanted to say
That white
Anunnaki.
hair, that ain't normal.
Exactly. I wanted to say Anunnaki slash Nordic vibes from him. Hybrid species right there.
Yes. Well, they have to blend in.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's the end of our the aliens that we're gonna go into today. Those are the kind of the bigger ones, definitely. And write us, let us know which one you like the best. Where can they find us on Instagram, Corey?
So on Instagram, you can find us on uncontroversial facts only. It's all just one word and everything's spelled out like exactly how you hear it. So that's where you can follow us on Instagram. We kind of are posting some funny content on there. So if you want to get to know a little bit more behind the scenes or kind of like hear a little funny update from us, that's where you should go to.
Yes, we also do have a Twitter, uncont facts only. They had a word limit, so uncontroversial did not make the cut. So it's uncont, UNCONT facts only. There's no content on there, but I promise that there will be soon. And you can also email us at uncontroversialfactsonly@gmail.com, one word, and email us your alien stories. We want to hear them. If you have stories of yourself, of family, like anything, we want to hear it. If you have any feedback for us, we want to hear it. Yeah.
Yeah, with those alien encounter stories, we will anonymize you. We will not put your whole information on blast because we do not want you to be intervened with the government or with aliens. Like, we don't want the Anunnakis come in and, taking all your money from your bank account for exposing their asses.
So true. Okay, well, thank you for listening. Episode 2 is done. Episode 3, we can't promise anything because we are busy, but we're trying to be more consistent, definitely.
Yes.
Um, yeah. So follow us on Insta or Twitter, and you will get better updates about when things are going to drop.
All right. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next time.